good morning. Oh, and good afternoon, good evening, and good night in case I don't see you. Audiences are suddenly hushed upon hearing the news of Jim Carrey's departure, the man who once made the entire globe laugh. It's unlikely that I would be that different. To be honest, I stopped trying to be someone I'm not a long time ago, not because of a scandal or a new function, but rather because of something more profound that is taking place. At least I know where I want to go, but I've been trying to go back there. It's our intention, you know. The comedian, who was once the most popular person in Hollywood, abruptly decided to leave after years of standing between fame and loneliness. I'm not there. You're not there. We're not present. It's a dream. Simply put, things are happening. Let's examine the reality of the choice that caused everyone to pause and reflect. Austria. Okay then, buddy. Good day. Jim Carrey started his journey laughing, but there was a heavy burden on his mind beneath the comedy. However, it's like the one topic that people discuss constantly: depression. Depression is a message from your body. He has been openly acknowledging since the 1990s that he battled chronic depression, a condition that few in the entertainment business were willing to discuss at the time. His early years were anything but tranquil. He was diagnosed with dyslexia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ADHD at the age of 10. Because of these circumstances, he found it difficult to learn and had to use comedy and mimicry to get attention. I don't want to show off this avatar you made for the world. For me, it is too much. Those childhood constraints molded a quick-witted and unique Jim Carrey. It's party time. P-A-R-T. Why? Since I was able to. Capacity to make simple everyday situations funny. He used humor as a shield to conceal a weakness that few people ever noticed. He was secretly followed by depression throughout the peak of his fame. He once disclosed that he had been on Prozac, an antidepressant, for a long time. I'm not sure, but I took Prozac for a long time. For a short while, it might have saved me from a difficult situation. Although the drug helped him maintain his equilibrium, he claimed that it also muted his emotions, leaving only a gray fog in his mind. Jim Carrey kept himself stable for a long period by working constantly. He had less time to deal with people the busy he got himself. According to TMZ, Jim Carrey's girlfriend, who was 28 years old, killed herself. The most severe decline of his life occurred in 2015. Jim Carrey's girlfriend, Catherine White, committed suicide. He was devastated by her passing, both emotionally and legally, as a result of the charges that followed. Rest deeply. Rest deeply. You must have a depressed body. Jim Carrey virtually vanished from Hollywood, avoided interviews, and utterly distanced himself from the public. He saw it as a time when I had to walk through the dark and not know if I would ever return. He appeared to have found peace in 2024, after years of stillness, but he was struck again. Rita, his sister, died. His depression returned because of the agony of losing family. According to those close to him, he avoided public gatherings and the media by spending much of his time at his art studio. Jim Carrey, who was in his 60s, preferred to find peace in his thoughts rather than chase after bright lights. He first mentioned his plan to quit the movie business in 2022. "I've accomplished enough. I take my retirement very seriously." Hollywood was taken aback by the few comments, which came from a man who is regarded as an indelible comic legend. The choice was made because he wanted to rediscover himself after years of navigating hundreds of different personalities, not because he was tired of the job. The fact that Jim Carrey used his own hardships as inspiration to assist others in overcoming mental illness is admirable. He frequently made appearances on mental health programs, urging viewers to speak up rather than remain silent. Through the impact of a world-renowned figure, he contributed to the transformation of depression from a humiliating secret to a path toward self-improvement and independence. Jim Carrey eventually came to understand that laughter, which had previously propelled him to the top, could also be a double-edged sword as the stage lights lit every inch of the stage. During the 1997 MTV Movie Awards, Jim Carrey shocked the audience by unexpectedly kissing actress Alicia Silverstone on stage, turning laughter into controversy. A seemingly amusing gesture was swiftly denounced as impolite and going too far, The incident damaged the reputation of a well-liked comic, even though he later clarified that it was only an impromptu humorous gesture. Carrey understood that one impetuous moment might escalate into a barrage of criticism in the entertainment industry. He was thrust back into the spotlight 3 years later with the release of Me, Myself, and Irene in 2000. According to a number of social organizations, the film portrayed a number of personality disorders incorrectly, leading to stigma and misunderstandings about people with mental illness. As the film's spokesperson, Jim Carrey took a lot of the criticism, despite not being the screenwriter. The comedian, known for making people laugh, realized for the first time that humor might occasionally cause pain. Weeks before Kick-Ass 2's 2013 release, Carrey unexpectedly stopped advertising the game. He stated that he no longer felt comfortable endorsing a violent movie following the Sandy Hook massacre. Although he made the statement out of personal conviction, some saw it as hypocritical because he had already been paid for the role. Carrey never responded to the designation of moral pretender, which was used to criticize the decision. He decided to remain silent because he felt that his convictions were more important than the opinions of others. He made a joke about the Ebola outbreak a year later in 2014, which caused uproar once more. His comment was considered disrespectful at a time when the sickness was causing fear throughout the world. Despite Jim Carrey's prompt apology, the event rekindled discussion over where humor and respect should meet. He believes that laughter is only worthwhile when it doesn't hurt other people, and he started to use his words more carefully following that incident. Jim Carrey used painting as a new medium between 2017 and 2022. As his film appearances decreased, his political caricatures, which frequently featured Bernie Sanders, Ted Cruz, or Donald Trump, sparked uproar once more. While some accused him of using art to hurt people, many applauded him for stating his truth. Despite being praised for their inventiveness, the pieces led many to call him a rebellious artist. Carrey saw painting as a means of letting off steam and maintaining mental clarity rather than as a confrontation. After experiencing a lot of turmoil, Jim Carrey said, "I learned to be quieter." This admission revealed a significant transformation from a man who used to scream on stage to one who now watches calmly in the midst of chaos. He realized that being famous came with responsibilities, and that every action and statement may be exaggerated beyond reason. Jim Carrey's private life was plunged in similarly intense anguish following the public problems, and his fame was unable to alleviate the loss and loneliness. Disaster in a private life. Jim Carrey started criticizing vaccines in 2009, particularly after he accompanied actress Jenny McCarthy, whose child was diagnosed with autism. They asserted that some immunizations could be harmful to youngsters. Carr's remarks swiftly became a worldwide controversy, despite the fact that his initial concern was a father's concern. His allegations were vehemently denied by the medical establishment, which accused him of disseminating false material. In the midst of the outpouring of criticism, Carrey explained that he was not anti-medicine, but rather wished to urge prudence in vaccinations, despite the media calling him a deceptive celebrity. However, the public's perception of him grew more sensitive. In addition to lawsuits, Carrey was the target of unfounded claims that she had a sexually transmitted illness. His reputation was seriously harmed by some tabloids who published false information. He remained mute in front of the public and allowed legal authorities to step in rather than responding angrily. He was able to gradually restore his reputation and demonstrate that he was no longer the impetuous person he had been thanks to that composed approach. Jim Carrey had 2 formal partnerships during his marriage. After 8 years of marriage, he had a daughter named Jane Carrey with Melissa Welmer. Despite their divorce, the couple remained close, co-parented their child, and frequently attended significant occasions together. His second marriage to Lauren Holly, an actress, ended after just 8 months. They parted ways amicably, without arguing in public or over property. Carrey later claimed that he came to see that ownership is not a necessary condition for love. Jim Carrey's subsequent relationships were mostly modest and brief. His relationships with Ginger Gonzaga, Anchal Joseph, and Renee Zellweger all ended amicably. In response to the question of why he never remarried, he simply said, "I'm dating myself." It was a funny comment, reflecting the fatigue of a man who had weathered too many storms. Jim Carrey never lost his duty as a father while being embroiled in several problems. His daughter Jane, who also enjoys music and art, has always been very close to him. The two have made numerous appearances together, and Jane frequently says her father always manages to lighten the mood. Their intimacy demonstrates how Carrey has upheld family values despite her own personal turmoil. Jim Carrey avoided loud romances and opted for a tranquil life after the age of 60. He concentrated on writing, drawing, and volunteering. When he thought on the years of miscommunication, accusations, and suffering, he once remarked, "It was a nightmare, but I learned real love." This statement had no romantic connotations, but it did represent the realization of compassion by a man who had suffered. Jim Carrey rose beyond the rifts and miscommunications to embark on a new path filled with kindness and little but meaningful actions. The light of goodwill. In Jim Carrey's career, 1994 was regarded as the best year. 3 successive films, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, all achieved box office success within a year, earning over $1 billion USD globally. His appearance was viewed as a novel occurrence that characterized the comic style of contemporary Hollywood. Jim Carrey went from being a little-known TV actor to becoming an A-list celebrity that all of the major studios wanted. As a result of his success, he was paid a record $20 million USD for a single film, making him the first comic in Hollywood history to do so. Jim Carrey led a modest life even while he was at the top of his game. He frequently said that money was merely a tool and that its actual worth came from using it wisely. Because of this, he engaged in years of unrecognized but significant charity work. He contributed $1 million USD to aid victims in the impacted areas during Hurricane Katrina in 2005. He discreetly provided 10,000 Christmas lunches for the homeless in Los Angeles in 2010, a year when the U.S. economy was struggling. Jim Carrey was not a celebrity to the people he assisted, but rather a man who helped when it was most needed. Jim Carrey gave 500,000 USD to the NAMI Foundation, which helps those with mental illnesses, in 2017 as awareness of mental health issues increased. In addition to making a monetary contribution, he participated in conversations that urged people to face their suffering rather than keep it hidden. He learned from his personal experiences that the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a mental condition. His famous phrase, "You can fail at what you don't love, so why not try what you do?" became a consolation to many who were feeling anxious or afraid. Jim Carrey treated his coworkers with courtesy as well. In an industry where celebrities often receive the largest share, he voluntarily asked co-star Jeff Daniels for equal remuneration during the filming of Dumb and Dumber. Additionally, he covered a child actor's tuition for The Mask, just stating the boy was too good to miss this chance. Jim Carrey used painting as a means of expressing joyful sentiment. Following his years of stardom, he produced hundreds of works of art that focused on compassion, freedom, and peace, hosting free exhibitions for the general public. All of the money raised from the sale of many artworks went to support children's and mental health patients' charities. He discovered a way to use art to promote healing rather than pursuing fame in movies. He is a man who is prepared to forego fame in favor of mental tranquility, and who would rather use his fortune to help others than to amass it. He gained more respect for that lifestyle than any box office record ever could. Jim Carrey decided to leave the limelight after all the highs and lows and enter a period of quiet where he was once again living a tranquil existence. The silence following the spotlight. Jim Carrey is still sound and lucid. He just wants to take a break and live a more tranquil existence after working in the entertainment industry for more than 40 years. He stated in a recent interview, "I'm not withdrawing from the world. I'm just finding the still part of myself." His statements revealed a man who prefers presence to celebrity and is looking for calm rather than attention. With Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in 2024, Jim Carrey made a lasting impression despite announcing a temporary retirement. His performance as Dr. Robotnik turned into the movie's high point and contributed to its global box office success of nearly $500 million USD. Audiences were reminded of his unparalleled comic technique and fire during the performance. Critics concurred that Carr's command of time and expression is still remarkable. He gave the straightforward response, "If it feels like fun, I'll come back," when asked if he would return for Sonic 4. His concept of acting only when it offers true delight, not obligation, was summed up in the sentence. Carrey finds solace in painting away from the camera. He creates art focused on healing, compassion, and peace in his own studio in Los Angeles, where he spends most of his time. The same emotional intelligence that influenced his performances is reflected in his art, which is both humorous and profound. The warmth and light emanating from his paintings attracted enormous visitors to his exhibition, Sunlight Inside. Carrey views art as a means of communication that transcends words and strikes a balance between self-reflection and celebrity. He frequently talks about painting as a conversation between the soul and stillness, a process that gives his life peace and purpose. He transforms loneliness into tranquility by using color to convey ideas that words cannot. Jim Carrey no longer chases attention in this new chapter. He demonstrates that genuine creativity starts when the cacophony subsides by painting, reflecting, and living with a calm purpose instead. Jane Erin Carrey, the daughter of Jim Carr, released the independent album Afterglow in 2025. It was Jim's first musical partnership with his daughter, as he provided backing vocals on 2 tracks. He participated quietly and sincerely, more as a show of support than as a media stunt. His voice lends warmth and introspection to the melodies, which encapsulate the emotional connection between generations. Jim and Jane demonstrated how art can unite love and legacy via their partnership. It was more about connection and a continuation of the family's creative process than it was about celebrity. As a result of their collaboration, the comic showed a softer, more realistic side. Jim Carr, who was once renowned for his exuberance, is thought to be wealthy over $180 million USD, but he no longer leads an extravagant lifestyle. He sold his Brentwood property worth $30 million USD in 2023 and relocated to a smaller house close to the Malibu Ocean. The choice represented a move away from opulence and toward simplicity. He now prioritizes solitude, painting, and peaceful mornings over material luxury. His current way of living is attentive. The red carpets and celebrations are over. He would rather meditate, take long walks, and draw in his garden. For Carrey, the real test of success is no longer success, but peace. He once stated that success was never the aim. There was peace. Despite his infrequent on-screen appearances, his corpus of work continues to define contemporary humor. Stanley Ipkiss became a cultural figure and made over $350 million USD from The Mask, 1994. Ace Ventura's ascent in Hollywood was solidified by the 1994 film Pet Detective, which brought in $107 million USD. Liar, Liar, and Dumb and Dumber earned $247 million USD in the same year, gained $302 million USD later in 1997. Jim Carrey became a worldwide symbol of laughing as a result of these movies. For a generation of comedians, his exaggerated facial emotions, flawless timing, and physical accuracy became the norm. His performances were ageless because to the intelligence and emotional depth that were always present beneath the humor. He is described by colleagues as being subtly giving. He frequently assisted crew members in need or sent private messages to see how others were doing. He supported young artists to keep making art, paid for therapy sessions, and made anonymous donations to hospitals. His generosity was never meant to be seen. It was consistent and sincere. His greatest gift, according to many who know him, is empathy. He offers consolation, listens, and reminds people to look after their inner selves. His legacy as an artist and a person has been bolstered by his compassion, which has defined his final years more than his renown. Jim summed up his philosophy in a 2025 interview with Variety by saying, "I'm not retired. All I'm doing is picking the part for myself." His perspective that art no longer defines him was aptly expressed in the line, "His art has become life itself." He leads a deep, meaningful, and peaceful life. Today, Jim Carrey is remembered as both the comic genius and the man who left the spotlight to pursue a life of peace. Despite suffering loss and controversy, he came out of it with compassion and clarity. His legacy endures in the serene knowledge of a man who discovered how to live without the mask, in addition to the laughter he brought forth. Turn on the bell to ensure you never miss the newest videos, and subscribe to the channel to keep learning about real-life celebrities.